Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be highlighting the waste in the US government, particularly in just US aid for now. Obviously, I could make a 10-hour long video on how our government wastes our money. Today I'm just going to be focusing on the US aid portion of it. Before I get into it, though, I want to say thank you all for your support on my last video, my election prediction. Anybody who hasn't seen it yet can feel free watch it. If you leave a comment, I'll still respond to it. Thank you to those who did leave a comment. And same thing for this video. If you guys have any questions or any future video ideas, please leave them below, and I'll definitely get back to you. So starting off here, I'm going to go column by column. So I'm going to explain to you how I set this up. So I spent the last few days getting a little bit of data here and there about this topic. So I have a few different categories, and I just did this for the top 10. So these are the top 10 US aid recipients from 2000 to 2025. Ukraine having received the most, and then Afghanistan, then Israel, all the way down, and Colombia is 10th. So I don't know the statistics on the rest of the countries, but you can assume that if the top 10 of these countries received the amount of money I'm going to soon show you, then the bottom 180 have received combined at least that, if not more. And I did also include illegal immigration as a separate category just because it is still a US taxpayer expense. And I did not want to sort of lump them in with other countries because it's a half domestic, half foreign problem, you know, but I still wanted to highlight that. So I'm gonna show my first column here, and this is how much money we've given to these places. So you can see right here, Ukraine has received the most. Now, I do want to make note that 41 billion of this was given to Ukraine prior to the Russian invasion. The rest was given to them after, around 225 billion. Depends on who you ask. There's plenty of different numbers just because Ukraine was given so much money, over the past few years. And even Trump is continuing that. I'm a Trump supporter, but I don't like that. I'm not afraid to criticize him. And I feel like he should not be giving that much money to Ukraine. He shouldn't continue to give money to Ukraine. They already got more than enough. And next up, we can see Afghanistan, Israel. It's another country we shouldn't be giving money to. None of these countries. And um, for Iraq, this one's a little different. We invaded Iraq, but last I checked, unless something changed, we won. So I don't know why, in what universe the winner pays the loser money, but whatever. I mean, you can make the argument that we shouldn't have been there in the first place. I get it, but the point is, 89 billion to rebuild their country, and I mean, clearly they didn't rebuild it, still in ruins. So the one on here that I'm probably the least mad at is Colombia, because one, Colombia doesn't hate the United States. Colombia does like the United States. And Colombia is in the Americas. The Americas is our dominion. We are supposed to dominate the Americas. So I understand if you want to give money to another country here. Same with Trump giving money to Argentina. I don't support giving money to Colombia or Argentina. But I would much rather give money to Colombia and Argentina than any of these countries up here. So, and you can see illegal immigration. Rough estimate is around $202 billion. And you can see the total here for just countries, 751 billion total plus illegal immigration, almost $1 trillion. And this is the estimated cost yearly, by the way. This isn't since 2000, this is yearly. And obviously, it wasn't always this high. We didn't always have so many illegals in the country as we do right now. So this number's been inflated, but we were still spending money on illegals. There was always illegals here. But now my next category is going to be how much money we gave, like basically if you were to divide it up between the people of this country. And I do have, by the way, where I got all my information from in the description below. I have a bunch of links down there if you guys, want to see my sources and stuff like that. So this is an estimation, based off of this, how much is rough area because obviously people are born, people die. So I just went off the 2025 populations for each of these countries, and we can see here that on average each Ukrainian resident received almost $7,000 from the United States. Israel had the most at almost $10,000. They don't need our money like that. They got their own money. Pakistan being the least at only $92, but that's still $92 too many. They could maybe have the 8 cents. I'll be fine with that. But then we have estimation now because we truly don't know how many illegals there are. This was just based off of 15 million in this country. There's anywhere between 15 and 20. So I just went with the conservative estimate, 15 million. That would put our average cost per illegal at $13,000, 13.5, and that is just too much money. And then obviously, I can't really calculate that. It's not how that works. But now we're going to get into another interesting category. So I'm basically going to tell you all, it might be this one or it might be the next one where you could start to see how we could have used this money instead. But yeah, okay, this is different. So this is the cost to U.S. citizens. Now, notice how I say citizens, not taxpayers. This is citizens, okay? So this includes babies. This includes toddlers, kids, people who don't pay taxes, people on disability, people who are unemployed, people who are in jail. I mean, this is literally everybody who lives in this country. And me, this is how much it costs everybody to send this much money to Ukraine. It costs me, you watching this, 661,000 or $661, not thousand, my bad. $661 to send all this money to Ukraine. And you can just see. I mean, it just doesn't end. I mean, I don't pay, 2,000. I mean, granted, I'm just an apprentice, so I don't make a whole lot of money, but you know, I do fairly well, I think, for my age. I mean, I'm only 18, but I don't think I pay this in taxes a year, like $2,800. And then there's, like I said, babies, toddlers, they don't pay taxes. So why, this does include them, by the way. So I just want to, really highlight this. There is so much waste here. This is just the top 10, still just the top 10. We're not even like, everybody else yet. Now, here is where I started to do the, like, basically how we could have used this money here, what we could have done with this here. Okay. So right here, this stands for miles of highway. So I Googled it, did some research. On average, it costs around $3 million to build a mile of highway. Now, this would be a mile of, like, say, I-80, or I-70 in the middle of nowhere type deal. So it would be 2 lanes each way, that type of highway. 1 mile of that, on average, costs $3 million. So with all the money we sent to Ukraine, we could build 75,000 miles of highway. I mean, that's enough to go coast to coast like 20 times. Down here, and even in the little ones, Colombia, we gave $16 billion to. You could build a cross-country highway with that easily. Probably build a 3-lane cross-country highway with that. And in total, if we were to go all the money that we gave to other countries, we could literally, obviously not technologically, but theoretically, distance-wise, we could build a highway to the moon. Like, the moon is this far from Earth. We could literally build a highway to the moon with this. Now, that's just ridiculous. I mean, we should not give that much money to other countries. And I just find it really ironic. I was going to make a separate little data sheet for this, but I didn't really know how to structure it because I wanted to mention, I don't have a problem giving money to, I don't have a problem paying taxes. I don't. I think everybody should pay taxes. But my issue is that when I pay taxes, I'm expecting my government, both the Illinois government and the US government, to use that money, on either the state of Illinois or the country as a whole. If there's a hurricane in Florida, my federal income tax should pay for that, pay for the damages, 100%. That's a great use of my tax dollars. Hurricane hits Puerto Rico, same thing. Great use of my tax dollars, part of the United States. We should pay for it. Okay. Hurricane hits, or typhoon hits the Philippines. Well, this ain't the 1930s anymore. The Philippines is not a part of America anymore. Okay, it's not a colony anymore, so it's not our problem. Now, they want to be a colony in the United States in 2025, and then they get hit by a hurricane. Well, that's a different story. Then we pay for it. But my point is, I don't have a problem paying money as long as it's in my country, right? We shouldn't be sending our tax dollars, which is, used to support the United States citizens to all these other countries. Now, the next column is these are going to be houses, okay? So the average cost to build a home in the United States is around $340,000 as of 2025. Now, obviously, it's a vast area. You could build a house in Chicago, it's going to cost you 800. You build a house in Wyoming, it's going to cost you 200. So it depends on the size, location. On average, it costs $340,000 to build a house, brand new. Okay, so this isn't buy a house. Buy a house, it's even more, but it's cheaper to build your own house. The average cost to buy a house is like over 500,000. I just looked it up, and but this is based off of purely new built houses. Okay, build 700,000 houses with this. I mean, that would be enough money to that would be enough houses to house like Chicago. So that's just a big waste right there. Now, and same with the illegals. I mean, you could basically end homelessness with this right here, and you could give every homeless person 4 houses with all this. There's around, I believe the number was like 775,000 homeless people, estimated in this country right now, and you would be able to build almost 3 million homes with this. Or if even if you were just to do the other countries, you'd be able to build, 2.3 million, which would give every homeless person like 3 houses. And then my last metric is just fun. How many Sears Towers could you build with this? You could build, almost 1,000 of these, and this is just, it was adjusted for inflation. The Sears Tower only cost like 150 million when it was built in 1973. Adjusted for inflation, that's just over $1 billion. So, I think that was kind of stupid of me to actually use that because, 266, basically 146, 146. But you get my point. You could build almost 1,000 new skyscrapers in this country because not, skyscrapers, any new ones, they're not going to be as good as, the best one in the country right here. They're not. So you could build, all this real estate. And I want to make this clear too. It's not like you could build this much highway and this much houses and this many Sears towers. This is like if you were to spend all this money on just highway, just houses, just buildings. That's it. Now, to wrap this up, my point in making this video was just to highlight, the waste in government. I don't support sending money to other countries for any reason. I mean, some people with Israel, they'll argue we have a moral obligation to protect them, fund them. We don't. We don't have a moral obligation to defend anybody but ourselves. That's the thing. We have a moral obligation to defend ourselves, and we're not doing that. We're not sending money to places in the United States where they actually need it. I mean, you can look at, you know, the hurricane. There's Hurricane Helene victims. I mean, that was almost 2 years ago, and they did. I think I want to say 2 years ago, and some of them still didn't even receive their money or get anything from that. And there's the the Maui fires. People only got like $700, a house. Like seriously, $700, and you want to give $7,000 to each person in Ukraine? I mean, that's ridiculous. Because this is, by the way, too, per citizen. This would include babies, elders, everybody too. This isn't just like adults. So I think we need to start fixing our problems here before we start, funding the world's problems. And even then, you know, what goes on in other countries isn't our problem. It really isn't. And you guys could disagree with me. You guys could agree with me in the comments. Feel free to. I welcome disagreements and stuff, but just back it up. That's all I ask. You can't just say, "Oh, you're an idiot," and then not tell me why. All I ask, if you're going to disagree with me, just back it up. Tell me why you disagree with me, and I'll get back to you. But I do want to say that's pretty much all I was going to say today. I want to let you guys know for next weekend, I'm going to try and be doing like these videos weekly now. And next weekend, my video is going to be, I'm actually going to, break the cycle, I'm gonna do 3 videos next weekend. One of which is going to be on the New York election, New York City election. The next one is going to be on the Virginia governor and cover briefly the attorney general election. And the last one will be on what I think will be the closest and most interesting, and that'll be the New Jersey election. And I'll share my thoughts, the prediction, how it's going to look next weekend, and potentially, depending on how this one goes, how this video goes, how that next one goes, I am going to maybe live stream on November 4th on election day, and we'll watch it live together. Anybody can join, share your thoughts in the live chat. Be my first live stream like that. So, yeah, I want to thank you all for watching. Please leave a comment below what you guys think of this. I mean, do you guys want to spend, all this money? Yeah, I mean, do you guys want to spend $3,000 like this on all these, other countries and illegal immigrants? I mean, I don't. I certainly don't. If somebody wants to give me $2,800, I'll take it. You know. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys next weekend with my other predictions.